You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
Former interim UFC lightweight champion Tony Ferguson hopes to announce fight news soon. El Cucuy hasn't been seen in the cage since an August clash against Michael Chiesa. Prior to the bout, Dana White stated that the fight would be Tony Ferguson's last in the UFC. Win, lose, or draw, the promoter seemed done seeing the 40-year-old inside the cage. Given his 7-fight losing streak entering the event, the comments made sense. Sadly, Tony Ferguson was handed yet another lopsided loss by Michael Chiesa in Abu Dhabi. Chiesa took down the former champion in round 1 and quickly scored a submission win by rear naked choke. With White and company looking on, Ferguson seemingly announced his retirement, leaving one glove in the cage. However, he instantly U-turned on the idea. Just hours following his loss to Chiesa, Tony Ferguson announced plans to keep on fighting. Since then, the 40-year-old has largely kept a low profile. However, it seems that Ferguson is done sitting on the sidelines and is ready to jump back into action. Taking to Instagram earlier today, Tony Ferguson made a post about teasing a return. In the caption of the post, El Cucuy wrote that he has some fun fight news on the way. While Ferguson didn't reveal who or when or where he will be fighting, it's likely that it won't be under the UFC banner. Then again, there are other promoters out there for the 40-year-old former champion. In recent weeks, the newly founded Global Fight League has signed dozens of high-profile free agents. Their current roster is composed of several former UFC stars, including Tyron Woodley, Luke Rockhold, and Paige VanZant. It's possible that Tony Ferguson could be the latest signing for the rising GFL. However, other promotions such as PFL and One Championship could have an interest in El Cucuy as well. What do you make of these comments from the former UFC lightweight? Do you want to see Tony Ferguson fight again? Let me know in the comments section. Former UFC Middleweight champion Luke Rockhold has weighed in on who might have the edge in the upcoming light heavyweight clash between Jiří Procházka and Jamahal Hill. Both Prochazka and Hill are former UFC champions, but they're entering this fight after knockout losses to the reigning title holder Alex Pereira. Scheduled for the UFC 311 card, the bout is a pivotal opportunity for both fighters to stay relevant in the 205-pound title scene. For Hill, the road back to a title shot could be more straightforward compared to Prochazka, who has suffered 2 defeats at the hands of Potan. Rockhold, however, has raised concerns about Prochazka's ability to stick to a game plan, particularly after his rematch loss to Pereira. Speaking on an episode of the Jackson podcast, Rockhold expressed his disappointment with Prochazka's strategy during their June 2024 fight. "I didn't like the way that Jiří fought his last time out versus Pereira," Rockhold said. "He just didn't look like he would follow the game plan. Like, what were you doing? I don't know. To think you could stand with him and play this karate style, kung fu game. You can't fight like that, a guy that he's so dangerous. You can't fight with your hands down and you gotta go for takedowns. You identified his weakness, but you didn't even try to exploit it." Predicting Prochazka versus Hill. Had Prochazka been more competitive in his rematch with Pereira, Rockhold's outlook might be different, but as things stand, he seems to favor Hill in the UFC 311 showdown. "Jamahal Hill's more dangerous," Rockhold said. "He's got pop, he's got power, he goes for the kill, and Jamal's got funky. He's weirdly athletic sometimes. He's hard to take down. You've seen in the Glover fight, he was able to get up and get his way, and funks his way through a lot of things, and he ends up finding his shot, the kill shot. But like I said, this is a rebuilding process for both of them, and you don't know, but I don't know. I might favor Hill in this one."
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Let's go!
8, 9, 10.
Давай, 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 давай.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
After nearly 5 years away from mixed martial arts, Paige VanZant is set to make her return. VanZant's last MMA bout was in July 2020 at UFC 251, where she lost to Amanda Ribas via submission. A month later, she signed with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, stepping away from the UFC and embarking on a new chapter in her fighting career. Despite securing a lucrative deal, VanZant dropped her first 2 fights in BKFC and took a 3-year hiatus from fighting. In May, she ventured into boxing, making her debut in Misfits Boxing against fellow OnlyFans model Elle Brooke, with the fight ending in a split draw. Then, in June, she debuted in Dana White's Power Slap League, earning a win against Christine Wolmeren. Her second Power Slap appearance also ended in a draw. Now, at 30 years old, VanZant has announced she's joining a new MMA organization, Global Fight League. New MMA organization. They are picking up anybody and everybody who has a name in this sport who is a free agent, VanZant shared on her A Kick-Ass Love Story podcast. They offered me a contract, and I said yes, going back to MMA. I think this is the perfect opportunity because I didn't necessarily leave MMA. I definitely didn't leave MMA because I wasn't passionate about it anymore. But leaving, when I became a free agent outside the UFC, the biggest offer that came was in bare knuckle boxing. They were the ones, she continued. They presented the best offer to me, and it was exciting. It was new, and it definitely sparked my interest. Now, there's this new MMA organization that actually made me really excited to fight for them. The way they're doing it, they're legit paying their athletes. VanZant is slated to compete in Power Slap again in March and anticipates her MMA return in April. At this stage in her career, VanZant is prioritizing financial opportunities. As she put it, it's called prize fighting for a reason, and she's focused on securing the biggest paychecks possible. Whether you like it or not, going back for another run at MMA, it'll be fun, she said. I'm really excited. That's supposed to be in April. I'll be doing Power Slap and then that.
The fight, was just getting warmed up. Everybody knows I'm a 4th and 5th round fighter. I just get started in those championship rounds. I could have finished him in that 4th, 5th round. He was breathing heavy. He didn't have much more to offer. He wasn't going to be able to have much volume in those last rounds, so I feel like I was going to be able to take over in that fight. It was a close competitive fight. He didn't outclass me. He didn't drop me. He didn't really hurt me. There was a little cut that happened. I rewatched the film. It was like minute 2, and it was like a headbutt or right off his hip or something, but it wasn't from a punch. So, that's the only thing that really limited my potential to be at 100%. It's unfortunate that DEI doctor stopped the fight early. I feel like the fight was just getting started, and there was a lot more that needed to be settled in there. So, it's unfortunate. It sucks, but, it's out of my hands. I wasn't even training. I didn't even have a training camp together. I literally, had to put my favorite fighter of all time, Chael Sonnen, the undisputed, undefeated, Westland gangster, as my head coach and switch everything around. Didn't have any training partners, didn't get a proper training camp like this guy. He was in training camp for 12 weeks. He was preparing for the best version of someone. I'm coming off the couch. This guy got me at 30%. I still should have beat him on no notice. So, but, we'll come back stronger from this like we always do. Every setback is the perfect opportunity for a comeback. I love fighting. I love the UFC. And I love proving people wrong. So they're going to be surprised for what's in store in the future and how motivating I'm going to be. I'm going to get back into training camp and, I'm going to grind like I've never grinded. I want to go out on top and, I want to finish my career the right way and leave a great legacy where people remember me as one of the greatest welterweights of all time.